Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Nina Ha, and I'm the director of the Asian Cultural Engagement Center. And before I begin, I would like to start off with the land acknowledgement. Virginia Tech acknowledges that we live and work on the Tutelo and Monacan people's homeland, and we recognize their continued relationships with their lands and waterways. We further acknowledge that legislation and practices like the Morrill Act of 1862 enabled Virginia to finance and found Virginia Tech through the forced removal of Native nations from their lands, both locally and in Western territories. Furthermore, the labor of enslaved Black people also generated revenue and enabled the creation of Virginia Tech. Because of this historical reality and legacy, as an institution, we have moral and ethical obligations to create a more diverse and inclusive community, one that includes those who were prohibited from attending Virginia Tech because of the legacy of racism in America and Virginia. This is the collective work and responsibility of Inclusive VT, our institutional and individual commitment to Ut Prosum in the spirit of community, diversity, and excellence. So once again, welcome everybody. We are here to welcome aKDPhi, and I am now, oh, by the way, I wanted to thank everybody for their support for APIDAHM this month, and this is the last official sort of ACE-sponsored events for APIDAHM. So thank you all for closing out APIDAHM with us, and I will now pass it off to the co-facilitators.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to today's event and taking time out of your day to be here. So today we have our Alpha Kappa Delta Phi sisters here with us to help us give insight on how we found community at Virginia Tech.
To start off, we'd like to give everyone a little background on our sorority. So Alpha Kappa Delta Phi is a national Asian interest sorority founded at UC Berkeley. We have 62 chapters located across the United States and Canada. We provide our members with lifelong empowerment, support, and friendship through our sisterhood and strive to uphold and advance our pillars of sisterhood, leadership, scholarship, service, and Asian awareness.
Okay, so before we start, we'd like to introduce ourselves. Hello, my name is Eugenia Yi. I'm currently a freshman majoring in computational modeling and data analytics with a concentration in physics, and I crossed in fall 2020.
Hello, my name is Lillian Chang. I am also currently a freshman majoring in biology, and I crossed in fall 2020 as well. And we will be your moderators for today's event. Now we will have our panelists introduce themselves as well, sharing their name, year, major, and when they joined Alpha Kappa Delta Phi. Lily, would you like to go first?
I'd love to. Hello, everyone. So my name is Lily, and I'm currently a senior majoring in business information technology with a concentration in cybersecurity management and analytics. And I joined aKDPhi during fall 2018. And I will popcorn to Vivi.
Hi everyone, my name is Vivi. I'm currently a junior majoring in graphic design, and I joined aKDPhi in fall of 2019. I'll popcorn to Michelle.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle. I'm a senior. I am majoring in English. I crossed aKDPhi in spring 2019. I will popcorn to Prince. Oh wait, no. I'll popcorn to Rachel. Sorry. Prince is not in aKDPhi.
Hello, my name is Rachel. I'm a junior majoring in political science with a concentration in national security, and I crossed aKDPhi in fall 2019. Now popcorn Chelsea.
Hi everyone, I'm Chelsea. I am a senior in psychology and I crossed spring 2018 and I popcorn Jessica.
Hello, my name is Jessica Fong. I'm a freshman. I am in general engineering currently, and I just crossed the semester spring 2021. I popcorn to Rachel.
Rachel already went. I think the only ones that are left are Denai and Hannah.
Hello,
Okay, I'll point you.
I'm Denai. I crossed fall 2018. Oh, I'm an international studies and German major.
Okay, and hi, I'm Henna. I majoring in BIT and I crossed this semester, spring of 2021.
I think that is all of our sisters. So now that we have introduced our sorority and you all know what we stand for, we will now start with the questions. If the audience has any other questions to ask, please feel free to do so anytime by typing them in the chat. So the first question is, given everything that is going on in the nation, how are you?
We are good. I feel bad for India, but yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, and I also agree. So like all things considering, I feel like just in comparison to some people in the world right now, like I'm doing okay. I mean, of course, like I feel like everyone has their own struggles, but you know, it's just you live one day at a time, and then sometimes, you know, things out in the world just don't seem real when you live your everyday life, just waking up and doing what you need to do.
Yep.
All right, the next question is, what are the ways that the APIDA community would like for others to show their support?
So I'll answer this question really quickly. The first thing I thought of when thinking about this question of like what support I think the APIDA community needs most is obviously like more visibility and putting more of our issues and topics on the map. I think for a lot of people, a lot of the sort of outrage was directed towards the fact that there wasn't a lot of mainstream news coverage concerning these topics, and there hasn't ever really been lots of news really related to hate crimes against Asian Americans, despite the fact that it has a historical repetition of happening. And I think that a lot of people just wanted to just be heard and be seen and be acknowledged about these sorts of issues. And so not just acknowledgement, but being vocal and being outspoken about the outrage that has happened. So there's a level of acknowledging it, and then there's a level of speaking out and being vocal about it. And it doesn't matter what level of participation, but rather that you do participate. You know, everyone is able to participate to the level that they can, you know, from being able to donate or being able to share things on Instagram. You know, some level of acknowledgement is always appreciated, especially considering the fact that there is a higher level of consumption of culture from Asia, with regards to like South Korean culture or, you know, Japanese culture. Like, I think a lot of people have acknowledged the fact that, you know, there is a lack of, like, you can consume our culture, but you can't stand behind us when we need sort of acknowledgement and understanding in terms of these issues that have been directly affecting us. And there's a level of like, consumer culture, that's totally fine, but also be here when we need you to be here as allies and stuff like that. So just like a tiny soundbite, I think, for that.
That was a great answer. Okay, so for the next section of questions, we'll specifically be discussing aKDPhi and how we had found community. So the question that we're going to start off with for aKDPhi is, why did you decide to join aKDPhi?
I can touch on this question. Coming to Virginia Tech, I came from Philadelphia, and the high school I went to was predominantly white. And so I guess coming to Virginia Tech, I wanted to have more Asian friends. I felt that I didn't really get to grow up in like my own culture, and I didn't get to meet people that looked like me or had the same relations as me. And so I guess to put it briefly, I wanted more Asian friends. And so it wasn't until a friend reached out to me about aKDPhi and told me that they're an Asian interest sorority group, and told me that it's just a really great way to connect with people culturally, but also with similar interests. And that's what really drew me to aKDPhi.
Hi, I'll also speak on this. Similar to Vivi, I grew up in a really small, predominantly white town with, I think, a population around 7,000, which equals roughly my graduating class of 22. So coming to tech, I wanted to find a sense of community, really to connect to those who have more similarities to me. And it's been really nice to meet and interact with people who share similar values. And it's really nice to expand on my culture since I wasn't really um, shown that growing up. So I'm very happy to be a part of aKDPhi.
Yes, I agree. I think Greek life is a really great way to find community, especially when you're coming to a new place and you don't know that many people. And this leads us to our next question is, was there a reason you chose aKDPhi rather than any other sorority or Greek life?
I chose aKDPhi because, well, one thing I liked about it was that it was small. So I felt that actually people actually knew each other, because compared to other Asian or other organizations, they're very big and like people don't know everyone, and like it's easy to just kind of be in the shadows kind of. So I didn't really want that. I wanted more personal relations with everyone. Also, I wanted to be part of an Asian community, especially I'm in another organization that's predominantly white. And yeah.
Anyone else want to answer this question? Okay. For me personally, like the reason why I chose aKDPhi rather than any other sorority, like what Denai had said, KDPhi is like, we're pretty small. We have, I think, like every year like less than 20 sisters, and I personally liked that. I know some other people like to be in like bigger sororities so that they can get like, I guess, like have more acquaintances, but I wasn't looking for acquaintances. I was looking for like sisters. So, and I don't know, to find sisters that I really connect with, like having like a smaller sorority was really nice. And also it's just aKDPhi is something different in my personal opinion. Not saying that like, like we're super unique or anything like that, but in my personal like experience, like as a freshman coming in, like with COVID and everything, it was very intimidating. And like there was no classes that, so we couldn't really make friends through that. So it was purely through organizations. And basically all of my friends that I have right now are from organizations. So when I was rushing for these events, because I only rushed for aKDPhi, but I also did look into other organizations as well, like other sororities. And the reason that it's like aKDPhi stuck out to me specifically was because of the girls who were in it. And like I guess like our pillars as well, it was like Asian awareness, scholarship, they all spoke to me, but definitely the sisters. Which I think I'm the last person to answer this question. So we'll move on to the next one. How does aKDPhi differ from any other organization clubs? So like, for example, SACE, VSA, CAS, etc.
I can speak on this if, oh, sorry to whoever was going. I'll just speak on it really quickly. I think it differs from other Asian org clubs specifically because I think that sororities have always been a very white space, have been always established, like it's a very established white space. And I think there's a lot of power in being able to establish a space that has been historically white and make it not ethnic, but a space that is mindful of everyone and mindful of like a very specific type of people. And I think that with that background and with that knowledge, I think it differs from Asian org clubs because Asian org clubs are inherently tied to identity, like in terms of like being in the Chinese American society, it's being very tied to the idea of like being Chinese and doing Chinese activities and stuff like that. Whereas I think joining a sorority, like, it isn't inherently tied to identity. It's tied to the idea of womanhood and like bettering female empowerment and stuff like that. So I think in a way that's a little bit different than, the empowerment of, or the betterment and enjoyment of culture from a specific select group of, like, an ethnic group. And I think that's not necessarily a bad thing at all. I think it fills different niches for everyone, and depending on what you need, aKDPhi can fill that sort of niche for you. So that's just how I think it's a little bit different. I'm sure maybe someone else can maybe thinks differently, but yeah.
Yeah, I can talk about this question too. So I'm in aKDPhi, and I'm also in SACE and VSA. And what I've noticed the difference about SACE and VSA versus aKDPhi is that aKDPhi is a lot smaller, so it's a lot close knit. I've talked to everyone in sorority, and I've also talked to people like sisters not at our school, so I got to branch out more. But for SACE and VSA, the organizations are so big that I can't say that I even know like half the people. So aKDPhi definitely gives you a sense of like stronger community, because I do have friends in VSA and SACE, and I really like them and I like hanging out with them. It's just that it doesn't give you the same community. It just gives you like friend groups, which I think is a very different concept, because friend groups, you can just hang out with them and you do feel safe around them, but the organization itself doesn't give you that like security and safety that aKDPhi gives you.
We also have a question in the chat. So, or some questions. So, what is crossing? Are there other terms/terminology particular to your sorority? What are these terms and what do they mean? If anyone particularly would like to answer that.
I can answer that. So wait, like crossing is like the process? Is that what the question is? I'm a little confused.
I guess in general, like any like Greek terms that we use, because since we are in Greek life, there are like a lot of terminology that other organizations haven't used. So particularly the question was what is crossing, but like any other terms too that are foreign to other people, we can
Okay.
touch base on that.
Okay. So crossing just means you join the sorority, but in order to do that, you go through a process. And the purpose of the process is just to see that like you are given tasks and projects to do. And it's just to see that people are willing to do the little things, because if they don't do the little things, then they can't do the big things. So it's just like seeing if girls are capable of maintaining professionalism, and also to see like if they'll have good work ethic, so that because this is a professional sorority, so you don't want to let in just anyone. You want to let people in that will actually pull their weight, especially since we are such a small organization. Like everyone needs to pull their weight. I don't know if that answered the question, I'm sorry. But yeah.
I think that did answer the question. For any other Greek terminology that aKDPhi uses, I would say stuff like, oh, you have a thing. Okay, so we have something called nicknames as well. So I can like basically my nickname is Celestial. So my full sorority name is Eugenia Celestial Yi.
Mine's Flora.
Yeah, so our big sisters named us, and it's basically like most of everything like terminology wise is like a lot to do with like sisterhood and like basically like bringing the sisters together, and it kind of has to do with like our like history of like the chapter as well. But yeah, there's so many Greek words that we probably can't touch base on all of it, but crossing essentially is like what Denai had said. It means it's like when they officially joined. So we're fall 2020, so we had officially joined aKDPhi in last semester, fall 2020. So we will move on to the next question.
And the next question is, what does sisterhood in aKDPhi mean to you?
Okay, So I'll answer this question. For me, sisterhood, this is a term, like a phrase, I guess, that our sisters use a lot, but a home away from home, that is so I never really thought about joining a sorority. I never thought I would ever be into Greek life, and I never ever thought a sorority would be for me. I thought maybe like a professional fraternity at the most, because I know when I first came here, I was a business major, and I knew that Tech had a lot of business fraternities. So I was like, the most I would ever do in Greek life is a business fraternity. But and brothers from VCU had actually texted me. He was an ex-coworker from American Eagle, saying to check out the sorority. So I scrolled through our Instagram, saw how professional it was, how close everyone was, and it just looked really nice. So, but I still didn't understand the concept of sisterhood. It seemed not the best idea to me at the time, because I was like, how are you just gonna throw in a bunch of girls and then just hope that they'll all be friendly with each other, you know? But after joining aKDPhi and I guess getting to know everyone, it's something different. I guess because we have to go through process, and the process kind of helps I guess filter people who do have the similar interests and similar work ethics. We all get along very, very well because of the process as well. And since Lillian and I did our process together, we're really, really close. Same with Elise and Carol, who are not with us, but they are our line sisters, which we call people who cross the same time as us. So sisterhood for me is people who are, these girls are all girls who would always be there for me. I could text Rachel, Michelle, Lily, and I know that they will text back with maybe advice or a solution to my problem, or just at least be there for me. And just having that reassurance is really all that sisterhood is. And I guess what I value the most in sisterhood. If anyone else would like to answer the question too, I'm done with my part.
I can answer. I also didn't really understand the meaning of sisterhood before I joined aKDPhi, and now after being, I guess, in it for a year or two, I realized sisterhood, being in a sorority with all these girls, it's very different than just having normal friends, because you don't always get to work with your friends or be in a professional setting with your friends. But sometimes you also don't get to connect deeply or on an emotional level with your friends. But with aKDPhi and all of my sisters, I feel like I've gotten to do all of that with all of them. And I guess sisterhood in aKDPhi means having people you can deeply connect with, and people that will be able to back you up and have your back all the time, because you've worked with them and you've grown with them, and you can definitely depend on them.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so the next question is, in what ways does aKDPhi hold their Asian awareness pillar?
I can speak about this. We always have different events in the month of April for Asian Awareness Month. Previously, we've participated. Before COVID, we did a night market. We participated in the AASU events. And we also strive to educate ourselves. Also, we have weekly meetings or either monthly presentations about topics about Asian awareness, and we tend to do more deeper level stuff instead of surface level topics. Some of the things that we have discussed before was performative activism, boba liberalism, whitewashing, tokenism, anti-Blackness, feminism and colorism in the Asian community. So we also really want to educate others, because we give more power to ourselves when we have more knowledge about the things about our own identity as well. And a lot of our sisters in the past have always held exec board positions on ASU, and also have participated in other Asian orgs under the AASU umbrella. And I think our Asian awareness pillar is like really meaningful for me because like my identity as an Asian woman is something really important to me. And I think through aKDPhi, it's really a priority within our sisterhood.
Yes, definitely. Okay. We also have another question in the chat. So okay, let me try and get this. Okay, so can graduate students participate in your sorority, or is it an undergraduate organization only? And fraternities and sororities are known for hazing. Are there any hazing in your sorority? Would anyone in particular like to answer this question?
I can answer this question. Okay, let me read the question again. Okay, so for our sorority, I believe it is only undergraduate students that can participate. And then for hazing, so aKDPhi, we actually practice hazing prevention all year round, and it's usually in September when September is usually a National Hazing Prevention Week, and that's usually like as a sorority, like in person, we used to table and spread the word to educate on and educate like on hazing and asking other students to take the pledge as well. But we are a no hazing organization, to answer that question.
Yep, we do not haze. Okay. Next question is, what is the difference between your aKDPhi community versus your school community?
Hi, I can speak on this one. Coming to Virginia Tech was, I think, one of the best things that's happened to me. I've had so many like adventures and new experiences and opportunities. And I think Virginia Tech as a whole has provided me a wonderful community outside of just family. So it's been really nice to be here and like not be the only Asian person in my hometown. Now I don't feel as lonely and left out. But I think the aKDPhi community just makes the VT community feel closer to me. I finally found a group of people who I can call genuine true friends, and that's been very nice to have.
Would anyone else like to go for this question? Okay.
If not, we can move on to the next question, which is, what skills have you learned from aKDPhi?
I can answer this question. So I've held multiple positions within aKDPhi, but the two that I want to highlight are the Vice President of Finance and new member educator positions. So for VP of Finance, I had to use Google spreadsheets to like keep track of our sorority's money movement. And I got to use like my skills such as like inserting formulas and creating data visualizations to organize everything in the spreadsheet, but also like generate reports that I can present to the rest of my sorority members so that they can understand, where most of our money was coming from and, make more informed decisions. And this specific experience has been something that I was able to talk about in almost every single job interview that I've had, because it shows recruiters that I know how to apply what I learned in a classroom to something outside of the classroom. And then for the new member educator position, I would say communication skills is definitely a big one, whether it's communicating expectations and deadlines to new members, or just keeping our alumni and national board officers like informed about what's going on during the semester. And specifically, like writing professional emails I think is a very useful skill to have. And I feel like that would benefit anyone, regardless of what industry you are in, because, you want to leave like a good impression on whoever you're communicating with, right? So like, you could be communicating with your supervisor or your coworkers, your job recruiters, or even your, I don't know, real estate agent, right? So I think being able to write professional emails is definitely a really useful skill, but it definitely takes practice. So I think that being a leader in any student organization is the perfect time to practice this skill so that, you're prepared by the time you go out into the real world. And then another big skill that I learned is how to host Zoom meetings, things like how to share screen, how to share audio, creating breakout rooms, all of which I am, too familiar and comfortable with to do now since, this entire semester I've had to host meetings as the new member educator. So yeah, I would definitely say that those are the skills that I have learned.
I can also answer this question. I consider myself a very shy person, and so joining AKDPhi, I guess it was like a way for me to branch out and kind of step out of my comfort zone. But I had also learned that AKDPhi was also like a professional organization, and so when I joined, I was a sophomore, and I hadn't had a lot of experiences in preparing for professional settings or preparing to be professional in the real world, I guess. And so joining AKDPhi, it's really helped me prepare to be in professional settings. So when we have meetings and stuff, we typically have a dress code, which is business casual. And also AKDPhi has also helped me practice writing professional emails and also staying organized, working on my punctuation, and also working on my social skills, being able to connect with people and build my network. I think those were the very big skills I learned from AKDPhi.
Yeah, I also agree. I think like one big skill that I learned was networking and like building interpersonal relationships specifically. Especially with other chapters. Like I have gotten closer with sisters that are from BCU and UVA. And I don't know, when I came to tech, I didn't really think I would ever really talk to people who are from other schools because like there wasn't really a need to, I guess. But once you're in KD5, like the sisterhood is so close that it branches outside of just your own school and it reaches to other schools as well, which is always really nice to see. I love being able to talk to girls in BCU, and like it was great because if we're ever down there, like we always have someone that we can talk to down there and like I guess have them show us around and everything. And I always was like pretty okay with talking to other people, but KD5 specifically, like it prepares you for both like I guess like an intimate relationship, but also a professional relationship because you're friends with these girls, but you're also working with them as well. So yeah, that's one of the skills that I've learned. Okay, so the next question is, what does a typical day/week look like in aKDPhi?
And I can start off by answering this question. So a typical day/week for me is pretty chill. I am currently in 3 of the committees, Asian awareness, fundraising, and Rush. That one's already over though. But for fundraising, we have a lot of fundraisers going on that require like looking at order forms and knowing like what type of materials we need to buy, how much, and advertising. So usually like every other day or like every 2 days, I take a look at all the things that are going on for that committee, and I just keep updated with it. And same with Asian awareness. We plan meetings and just make sure we're on track of everything. That's the business side of aKDPhi. But also, literally every day I talk to my LSs. We always text, and I also talk to other sisters as well. And I just feel like really accepted at BT because coming here, I didn't really know anyone. I didn't really stay in touch with anyone from high school going to BT, so I didn't already have like a group to hang out with. So I didn't really go out that much, and I'm not the most social person anyway. So I really like stayed in my dorm a lot, kept to myself. But after joining KDPhi, the sisters always have plans that they're inviting me to, and I just think it's like a really good community to be with, and it like they just check up on me all the time, and it's really nice. But yeah, if anyone else would like to answer that question, can.
Okay, if not, we're moving on to the next question.
Okay.
Okay, so, okay. In what way has aKDPhi given community?
Okay, I can speak about this. KDPhi has given me a strong sense of belonging. After being in aKDPhi for the past 3 years, I've definitely felt valued, understood, and appreciated in ways that I haven't felt in my other friend groups. My sisters, they hold me accountable and always challenge me to be a better version of myself. I've grown and matured a lot with their support, and I really feel like I can be my authentic self, and I've never felt pressured to assimilate into the majority.
I can also speak about how it's given me community. I think for me personally, I struggled a lot. I mean, I feel like that's a story for a lot of people is growing up in an area that doesn't have that many faces that look like yours. And so it felt like oftentimes like when I would hang out with friends who didn't have shared lived experiences as I did, it felt like I always had to try to like I didn't want it to undertake the burden of like making them understand like my experiences, if that makes any sense. If there was like an Asian related issue or someone was Asian, I didn't want to have to constantly try to act as the representative of that person or like a representative of like that issue for whatever reason. I don't know if that makes any sense, but what I'm trying to say is that like I often felt like I had to be a spokesperson for Asian people around other non-Asian people. And in a lot of ways that felt like I didn't really want to be like, I didn't really want to be Asian in that sense. Like I didn't want to undertake that responsibility of doing that. And I think KDPhi has given me good community in the fact that I can, like Chelsea pointed out, this is so cheesy, like be authentic and just not have to think twice about the sorts of mannerisms or like not have to explain like my background to people. Like for example, like, oh, why does my mom do this sort of like weird Asian thing, you know what I mean, like, and I have to explain that to people who aren't Asian. Whereas when you're with other Asian people, it's kind of like I don't have to ask you to, this is small, but like take your shoes off at the house, or like I don't have to ask you to do these things and make you feel like you're bending over backwards to accommodate me, if that makes any sense. And I think like prior to joining KDPhi, I think I underestimated how taxing that was to constantly like do that, like constantly try to explain and ask people to accommodate for the Asianness, if that makes any sense. So I really appreciate that aspect of it. Yes.
So that was the last official question that we have written down, but we see one that in the chat. So the question is, how does aKDPhi keep its alumni engaged and connected after they've left Blacksburg? Anyone in particular wants to answer this?
I can touch on this. So Every semester, we recruit new girls into the sorority, and the entire process of that is always communicated with our alums, just to keep them informed about how many potential members we have, and also just to invite them to events so that they can meet our new members. But also in our chapter, we have a position called Alumni Chair, and it's their responsibility to, send newsletters to our alums just to update them and, let them know that, what we've been up to. And then we also try to coordinate retreats or other, fun events like that, just so that we can reconnect with our alums. I believe it was last year when we went apple picking with our alums. I think that was last year. But also, we also coordinate other types of events. Uh, I think there was one recently where our alums came to speak to us about transitioning into the workplace, just things like that. Always, we always invite our alums to speak to us, give us their advice and, wisdom and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, we have ways to stay engaged with the alums, but the alums also since they were a sister, they want to stay engaged as well. So they also reach out to us. I've had a few alums actually after I crossed text me hey, welcome to AKDPhi, and just they do their part as well. It's not we have to grasp onto them and be stay with us or anything like that. They also reach out to us as well. So.
All right, so that concludes all of our questions and all of the questions that we have seen in the chat. Just lastly, does anyone else have any more questions that we can answer? Oh.
See one. How does mentoring work in your sorority? What are some important characteristics of the mentoring? Anyone in particular would like to answer?
I can answer for this. In particular, we don't have a specific mentorship program. It's not an established thing that we have regarding that. I would say that most of our mentorship comes from bigs and littles in that aspect. I think a lot of mentoring happens in terms of, obviously, when you're picking up a younger sister, obviously you want to do your best in terms of not only making sure that they are well accommodated in the sorority itself, so that would include duties, positions, the ins and outs of the sorority, but also mentoring them, obviously mentoring them personally. So mentoring them in terms of their school, their academics, here are some classes that you can take, mentoring them being just a warm body for them to come to when they need to and stuff like that. Obviously that's not super mentoring as in academic professional advice, but I think that's just mentoring in a way and helping them, sorry, I'm on NCD, helping their personal growth in a way. So I think that's a lot of where the mentorship comes from. And for me personally, in my lineage, there's my big helped me accommodate, get me situated in the sorority, and then I help, my little get situated in the sorority. And then, there's just I feel in a lot of Asian communities, there's always this idea of give back to whoever gave to you, and then keep going and keep that momentum going for, the community, so that actively keeps going. That was sort of a long-winded answer, but yeah.
Yeah, so basically, like Michelle has said, we don't really have a specific mentorship program, and we have big and littles, which CAS and BSA has as well. But I think something that is also unique to AKDPhi is that since we are such a small sorority, a lot of sisters will go out of their way to help you as well. Like they won't have really anything to do with you. Like they won't be like your line sister. They won't be your big. They won't be your particular new member educator, but they will help you. And like they'll like if you're having troubles, like I've had some sisters like if I'm just like in a Zoom call and I just look like a little more like I guess dead that day, they've texted me being like, "Are you okay? Like, do you need anything?" And if something was happening and I text them that, then they'll help me go through like whatever situation I'm going through. And we also have like I guess on the academic side, like we have like an academic chair who like basically like watches over our academics and gives us advice as well. So yeah, we don't really have a particular program, but that's I guess like the best summary for mentorship in aKDPhi. Are there any other questions that we can answer?
All right, if there are no questions, we can end a little early today. But before we end, we just want to say thank you to all our panelists for sharing your experiences, and thank you to everyone else who for coming to this event. We would also like to give a special thanks to the Asian Culture Awareness Center and Dr. Nina Ha for supporting us and sponsoring this event. You can follow us on social media if you're interested in keeping up with our sorority, and we have just posted that in the chat. But other than that, just thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you all for coming. Hope you have a great night.